welcome to Madhyom podcast. Today we have with us Lieutenant General Vinod G Khandare, who will be speaking to us about the eastern borders of India. Lieutenant General Vinod G Khandare, former officer of the Indian Army and who was until recently serving as the principal advisor to the Ministry of Defense. Sir, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Smita ji, and a big Jai Hind to all your viewers.
Jai Hind, sir. Sir, let us start with the most burning question right now, which is the SEO Summit. What is the SEO Summit and what is the significance of Honorable Raksha Mantri ji's action in the China dominated organization? And I believe you have very closely worked with him in many of the assignments. So, can you please let us know how is the SEO Summit significant?
See, the geopolitical world order is in a very precarious position, and it has been like this for quite some time. So, while post Cold War, when USSR got dissolved, so you suddenly had people saying that abhi to it is a unipolar world with USA leading everything. Then after a few years, you suddenly had China and Russia coming together, and this SEO as an organization came up. The USA possibly views it as an anti-US platform, but India joined both sides in the sense we balanced it, being with US also and being with China, Russia also. SEO summit or SEO organization as such has a lot of countries which are from the Central Asian republics, from the Southeast Asian nations. So it's a kind of a Asian organization, so to say, simplistically put. So now here, when the summit took place and we had Honorable Raksha Mantri attending there, now Indian policy is very clear. In case we bring out something which is related to terrorism, it should automatically be included in the outcome of that summit. I think they, under possibly Chinese pressure, they may not have wanted to do that. So obviously, then Honorable Raksha Mantri refused to sign on that. So that's a messaging which is from the Indian side. So this is that diplomatic part, which although he is a Raksha Mantri, but he is an important key person from the government of India. So he's done exactly what the government would have wanted him to do, and that is to signal that terrorism has to be highlighted in such talks.
Okay, sir. So President Trump had said in February 2025 with reference to Bangladesh that leave it to Prime Minister Modi and there is no involvement of deep state. So Bangladesh borders West Bengal and we have seen that a lot of us are a lot of it is riding on the Bangladesh border when it comes to national security. So what is your take on this statement and does it still hold this statement because you see that there is a lot of shift in how Trump is speaking right now was vis-a-vis what he was doing earlier or during his earlier term?
See, post January when he got elected, and this was in the initial few weeks, not even months, in the few weeks that he made this statement. Did he consult his foreign ministry people? Did he consult his security person people? I don't think. He said something, and most of the things that he was saying in those days were mostly anti what Biden had done. So, in a
Right.
way, just showing that whatever was done was wrong and whatever I'm going to do. So, okay, he may have said it. Assume that he was serious about it. But subsequently, we've not seen any follow up of his, the intent, how it translates into action. What has happened? Yunus continues to be handling in whichever way the volatility of that. So all is not well in Bangladesh. That is what I can say. And if all is not well in Bangladesh or Myanmar, it has definitely an implication on the Indian internal part in Northeast India. Borders is just one part.
So my next question is about China. So China is a key partner in Bangladesh's infrastructure development, including the Belt and Road Initiative. Also, we are seeing a lot of cooperation in the defense sector. Like they are giving a lot of hardware to Bangladesh. And earlier, Bangladesh used to kind of balance it out with India and China. But right now, I think the stand is completely different, and we can see a shift of Bangladesh towards China.
See, when you look at Bangladesh and you put the dots in the past. So when Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, during her time, what you said is exactly right. They were trying to balance it out, and diversification of military equipment or defense equipment was on not only restricted to China and India. If you recollect, maybe a decade back, there was a talk about Force Goal 2030, which Bangladesh wanted to have. How would Bangladesh security situation look by 2030? So in that they had outlined what all equipment they want to buy. They had outlined what will be the air force like, what will be their artillery, what will be their armored like. So in that I distinctly remember they had looked at 16 fighter aircrafts, and there was
Okay.
a talk at that time that they would go in for Rafale. So it was not only China and India; they were trying to balance it out. My dialogue with a number of these defense attaches of Bangladesh, uh, on the quiet, they would say, we're not happy with what equipment China gives because the quality is not good. But we have to be very careful because we don't want to annoy them. In the maritime sector, if you recollect, two Ming class submarines had been given by China to Bangladesh. What for? They didn't have any submarine threat at all. But I think what China was trying to do to work on the insecurities of Bangladesh and try to create infrastructure which possibly they could utilize. So if they create a submarine bay there and then position their own submarine, so that in a way it is Chinese agenda.
Right.
Now after Yunus, they haven't made any such move as of now. But the pressure from China is going to definitely be there. We will have to actually wait for the elections. What is the outcome of election? And after the outcome, and Bangladesh army is a very key player in that.
Absolutely.
It's not like India where the ministry decides. There is always a major general who's with the prime minister's office. He
Okay.
plays a major role, and the present army chief had been in the prime minister's office there.
Yes.
So I think we will have to wait and see. It is too early to say whether they have tilted this side or that side.
Okay.
But the pressure is enormous on them.
Okay. Sir, given your extensive experience on the eastern border, what is your take on the geopolitical situation which is erupting in the Southeast Asia? Because if you see, there has been also talks that this Israel-Iran war has been a diversionary tactic because something is happening in Southeast Asia, or there is some movement happening there. So, what is your take in that? And especially because India has a large I would say border area. Also, we have a large coastline on the eastern side. So, how is it going to affect our national security?
See, when you say Northeast, it's a very complex issue in the sense if you're looking at Northeast, there are seven states of ours. Then there is Myanmar on the other side. Then there is Bangladesh in between. If you look at maritime, you can go down right up to Andaman Nicobar, and you can also think of what China is wanting to do in Kra Canal, the supposed Kra Canal which they want to bring in, and thereby the maritime power can come straight into Andaman Sea. So if
Right.
you start from there, and that is to overcome the Malacca dilemma. As long as the Malacca dilemma continues for China, because bulk of their petroleum crude goes through Malacca or the other three, there are total four choke points there.
Okay.
So Malacca dilemma is a grouping of all that. So which means they are always worried that if there is a war with India or with somebody from West, including possibly Taiwan, then
Yeah.
these countries which China views as rivals can choke that oil. So as a counter to that, not exactly in the quantity that goes, but they always look at a possible option. So from Gwadar, they made a pipeline which goes to Western China.
Right.
Uh, Along this area of Myanmar, Sitwe, so again making something pipeline which goes into Sichuan province. So will that be able to replace the oil tankers? No, it cannot.
Okay.
But at least something will be there. So oil pipeline, then making roads, making rail. So China has been continuously trying to improve its connectivity east of India. And when I'm saying east of India, Myanmar specifically,
Yes.
because uh, Myanmar has been so troubled that Chinese per se, covertly or overtly, they have a presence there.
Right.
Why? Why do they want to be there? There are petroleum blocks, crude blocks, rare earth material is there.
Okay.
So China's interest is basically their own national interest, and they would want this turmoil, turbulence to continue in Myanmar so that they can have a presence there and possibly maintain the military rule there and continue to exploit this area. Uh, if you look at uh, along the Myanmar-China border, there is a place called Ruili.
Okay.
Ruili is a place where it is said that Paresh Barua, who is a known terrorist or a militant from Indian side, actually stays there. The Chinese use him, and he's the one who funds all these groups here. A lot of activity happens. Then from Ruili, the road comes to a place called Michkina, then goes to Mandalay, and then goes further south. In the last couple of years, we've seen the kind of Chinese presence that has happened in Michkina and Mandalay. So obviously, our worry is the increasing Chinese influence, presence, and influence. Myanmar is an interesting country. It can be divided into plains and it can be divided into mountains. So mountains are on the border. So the Buddhist population majority is in the plains, and non-Buddhists, they can be Christian, they can be of any other faith. They are on the mountains, and those mountains are the ones hugging us. Whether it is Rakhine, whether it is Chin State, but all these are along with us. Uh, from the Indian side, so far we did not emphasize on fencing the border.
Right.
Considering the sensitivity of people who have relatives on the other side, this side, so there is something known as a free movement regime. People from both sides can come, move, meet each other.
Right.
There are weekly bazaars, harts, they are called harts. So from the other side, people come with their head load.
The cultural exchange is still
Cultural
going
exchange,
on.
commercial exchange.
Commercial exchange.
So people move in those with the head loads and they come and sell it here. Then they buy something from here and take it. Interestingly, there is a place called More.
Okay.
So when I had gone there, I had realized that they come with the black rice or red rice. Then whatever they sell here, you know what they used to take from here? Atlas cycle.
Oh.
Because in the hills, the cycle is extremely useful to carry the load.
Right.
So even if you don't ride it, but you can put a bag of rice, paddy, and you can carry it. So that is the kind of connection that the people have. But because of the leniency or benevolence of the Indian government, the terrorist groups on both sides have been making arrangements to meet each other. You have a tremendous amount of NSCN presence on the other side.
Okay.
The Manipur Valley based insurgents, PLA, UNLF, they have a lot of relationship on the other side. There is a Chin National Army, there is on our side, there is a ZRA. So all these people have tremendous amount of movement on both sides. So now the government, and I'm talking only about Myanmar here, the Honorable Home Minister gave a statement that we are going to fence this.
Okay.
So fencing means obviously there is a land acquisition which is required. These states of Northeast have different laws. Everything is not as you would see in Delhi or you would see elsewhere. There's a lot of emphasis on customary law also. The judiciary also, to quite an extent, gets dictated by customary law. So it's not such a simple thing that you press a button and it will happen. So land acquisition will have, because in those areas, the land is owned by the village head.
Right.
Who's known as the Gaon Buddha. Right from the Britishers' time, he used to be known as the Gaon Buddha. So land has to be acquired. Then, carriage of fencing material is, as it is so difficult because there are dense forests, lack of roads. So it's going to be a very big task, and we'll have to fence that. Then again, here, Sumitra ji, if you create a fence and you don't supervise that fence has no value.
No use. Yeah, correct.
So you'll have to have sensors, you'll have to position people who will possibly patrol, possibly you'll require drones, you'll require helicopters. So it's going to be a complex issue, and in addition to that, every bit of terrain cannot be fenced. There are fast flowing rivers, there are fast flowing nalas, there are steep cliffs.
Right.
So some of it again will get left out.
Hmm.
So some people after a couple of years may quote this discussion and say, you said everything will be fine. Today, Bangladesh border has been fenced,
Yeah.
but have we been able to stop the infiltration? One is that there are certain portions which have not been fenced because there was a state government which was not willing to give land. So that is another problem.
Hmm.
If there is no convergence of thought between the center and the state, then this becomes a big problem. And then
Absolutely.
you have hordes of infiltrators. So Bangladesh, Myanmar, both have the same problem.
Absolutely.
So that we will have to find solutions.
Sir, in terms of infrastructure development and connectivity, I think a lot of progress has been made along the eastern border.
Yeah.
So, what are the key areas which you think that still require significant work to be done?
See, one is infrastructure within.
Hmm.
So, connectivity, when you go to Northeast, Guwahati is the hub.
Yes.
So, roads going to Arunachal are from that area.
Yeah.
Then you have to come to Kohima,
Hmm.
Dimapur, Kohima, and then that same road goes down to Imphal.
Hmm.
And from Imphal, it goes down to Chudachandpur, which the people from the hills now call Lamka.
Hmm.
Now means they always used to refer to Lamka, but one of the king, Chudachand,
Hmm.
that place is known. So there are roads. Similarly, you look at road connectivity going from South Assam, that is from Dimapur or other places, you go to Haflong, then you go to Silchar, then you go to Agartala.
Hmm.
Yeah, these are long stretches of roads to firstly construct and then to maintain.
Hmm.
And then the vagaries of weather. Last so many decades, the government has been trying to create rail connectivity right up to Imphal. And a couple of years back, Haflong, which always had rail connectivity, suddenly the entire railway track and the railway station just got washed away.
Hmm.
So, vagaries of weather and these mountains, these hills are not very stable.
Okay.
So, there is a lot of terrain challenge. In addition to that, when you mentioned about infrastructure inside, I have met so many people from Manipur. They had their own views. They said, if the railways come, and then we will become a minority. And I used to talk to them and I used to say, how will you become a minority? They say, the mainland people. I said, what is mainland? So
Yeah.
they look at anything which is not northeast,
Hmm.
they look at it as mainland, and they would
Mainland.
say, no,
Yes.
no, a lot of Bengalis will come and this will happen, that will happen. On the contrary, I must tell you that Haflong is one particular area which is in southern Assam. All types of people are there. There are people who are Bengali, there are people who are from Dimasa tribe, there are people who are from
A lot of Rajasthani crowd is there.
Rajasthani.
Yeah,
They are
the trader
basically
community. Yeah.
in business interest.
Yes. Yes.
A lot of people who served in Assam Rifle for right from the Britishers' times when they used to be called Kachar levies.
Okay.
They have settled down there. So people from Nepal have settled down. People from
Hmm.
Garhwal have settled down who served their entire life in Assam Rifles and then decided, okay, abhi वापस कहाँ जाना है? We might as well settle. So in a way, it is mini India.
Yeah.
So all these fears are unfounded and possibly politicization of these apprehensions. Uh, there are a lot of NGOs from what they call as mainland, but there are so many nationalistic people who are there spending their entire life trying to have education improvement of the people. There are missionaries, right from the British time when there was something known as the inner line permit. So a lot of missionary schools came up there. They are the mainstay there.
Right.
But other schools have also started coming up. So I think what is the complication is infrastructure, terrain challenges are there, but we will have to overcome that. You'll have to create more roads there. You'll have to create more rail there. You'll also have to create helicopter services there.
Absolutely.
Every place cannot have
Cannot be
a
reached
runway.
by.
You will need more of helicopter services, and that is something which is open to the private sector. Today, if you ask me, is it satisfactory? No. There is a lot of scope where helicopters should be used, and it helps people to move quickly. And if more people move to other areas quickly, then there is a lot of interaction and small mindsets can be changed. There is a Barak River in that area, which is excellent for waterways.
Okay.
and that comes right down to Silchar and then goes away further towards Bangladesh. Very nice river where, in fact, I am talking of the early 92, 93. In those days, there were so many boatmen with normal customary boats, and they used to come upstream, take the forest produce, oranges get cultivated there, and they used to take it at such a cheap price because these poor people had no other
No
place to
access to
go.
market also.
Yeah.
Correct.
And taking that complete boatload of oranges for how much? Just 1,000 rupees, and go and sell it at Silchar for a awesome sum. So I think what needs to be done is all possible ways of improving infrastructure.
Absolutely. So shifting focus back to Bangladesh. So there was a sudden regime change in Bangladesh,
Yeah.
and we were quite unaware, kind of media reports suggest. And so, can you throw some light on it, and like why did it happen, and what do you think will happen next, and how does it impact India in the long run from the national security point of view?
See, what actually happened, maybe intelligence agencies, maybe the government may have felt that the strong iron lady of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, and she was fully in control.
Yeah.
And she was managing things well with China, managing things well with India. There was a lot of interest from Europe, there was a lot of interest from USA. And I think where possibly external factors played a major role, that is financing, that is a kind of possibly the plan being made to push the students' unrest. And you would have seen there is a slight difference between some of these countries and our case. A couple of years back, you remember there was so much of a protest towards Red Fort.
Yeah.
Um, Tractors were running on the road, and
January.
yeah, and the police did not go berserk. They did not
Showed
kill the
restraint,
civilians.
actually.
They
Yeah.
showed a lot of restraint.
Lot of
So many
restraint.
policemen got hurt.
Yeah.
I remember policemen didn't even raise a lathi. That
Yes.
I'm not advocating such kind of policing also. I'm saying, but there are some sensitive points of time where a little overreaction from the police, and I think that's what happened in Bangladesh. And the students who have always been a force in Bangladesh got pushed by the Jamatis. And these Jamatis, if you look at the history, when Bangladesh got created, 1971, a lot of people of non-Bengali origin, maybe speaking Bengali, but they got left behind. They used to be locally known as Biharis. Not our Bihar, but they were known as Biharis, and they were the hated lot. And they were mostly the radical lot. People from Bangladesh had more value to the culture than to the religion. And culture included the language.
Okay.
So there was so much of a good interaction between people from our West Bengal and people from Bangladesh, or even Tripura for that matter. But when maybe Sheikh Hasina may have become a little complacent, it's been decades, continuously decades worth of continued regime. So I think police action may have been too much. That became that flashpoint. That is one. What was the role that was played by either China or USA? Obviously, there will have to be much more research to be done because this happened immediately after she came back from China.
Right.
She cut short her visit. Maybe her dialogue with Chinese may have also not been to the best of ability. Then she had mentioned once that there was a white man who wanted an island or who had conveyed a message from the US. These are all small dots which need to be connected, internal, external. And we got surprised. Yes, definitely we got surprised. We had we not been surprised, or had we something more, we would have advised her. And she always used to look at India for a lot of support. So no wonder that she finally came to India, although her son is in USA. But I think that was one major upset that we have seen.
Sir, chicken neck. When we talk about West Bengal, especially, and the strategic location, we have also heard several references to it when somebody is protesting or some terrorist activities quoted. So, sir, how protected are we and how significant is it still there? Because I know that a lot of military presence is there. I've personally been to that area as well. But, sir, how do you see protecting chicken neck is getting more important from the security point of view?
Sumitra ji, firstly, that chicken neck has to be understood. It is a long strip which moves from the area west of Siliguri, and then it continues through the Dwars. That area, Dwars means the entry to the
Doors
mountains.
or
Dwars. And it goes right towards Falkata. And so that is how Kishanganj onwards or Islampur onwards. And then Siliguri, Jalpaiguri, and then it continues in that area right up to Kuch Bihar.
Right.
It is very sensitive because rail, road, oil pipeline, your digital connectivity is all going through that.
Right.
Now, Rangpur is the place from the Bangladesh side, which is hugging this Siliguri corridor. And you should not leave this part and even look at Nepal. From Nepal side, Jhapa is the place which is again connecting this side. So Rangpur, Jhapa, and what you should be looking at, what is the presence of anti-Indian people in these two areas? What is the Chinese presence in these two areas? What is Bangladesh doing in these two areas? Is it creating or reviving an Air Force station at Lal Munir Hat? Why is somebody suddenly wanting revival of a British era airfield at Lal Munir Hat, which was just a training academy up to a point? But if, let us say, they ask Pakistan or China to revive that, what will happen? Surveillance devices will come. Training flights means you will be able to observe things on top. In the new warfare, one of the things is, even before declaration of war, you have the electromagnetic spectrum warfare ongoing. So they keep picking up our radar locations, we keep picking up. So it's a continuous issue which happens. So as they keep coming closer to the Indian border, this is a very serious matter. Chinese have invested a lot in that Rangpur area in the form of solar energy. Jhapa is again same in Nepal. A lot of investment has been made for solar energy generation. So obviously we should be a little suspicious. Now, preparation, yes. In that entire area, I have commanded a brigade exactly in that area close to Siliguri in a place called Sevak. So I am aware of how delicate the situation is, and the Indian Armed Forces have plans, they have presence, there is surveillance, there is intelligence, so all that is being continuously monitored. And in a way related to that was that Doklam incident of 2017, June to August. And when General Rawat at that time was the chief, army chief, he had taken quite a bold stand to say that the Chinese presence on Bhutan territory will not be tolerated. So after a 73-day standoff, and immediately after that period in August was a BRICS session. So the Chinese then negotiated and said, okay, we will leave it to wherever we are, and you pull back. So that is what happened. But in the bargain, we got alerted and we made our plans to protect so that there is no further penetration in that sensitive area. It's a cause of concern, and we definitely see, if we had good relations with Bangladesh and if we had assured trade and transit facilities through central Bangladesh, that is from west to east or east to west, going close to Dhaka, it would have been definitely better. But today that luxury we don't have. Maybe we went wrong in 1971 when we were in a way helping the Bangladesh people to, from East Pakistan, transit to Bangladesh. Our negotiations could have been a little more pragmatic, futuristic. We could have said that area of Rangpur, or even later when the boundary issue was being settled. I don't think people thought through, and in the bargain, you have such a situation today.
Sir, when we talk about the demographic composition, especially of West Bengal today, bordering Bangladesh, and also the northeastern region, we see a drastic change which is happening. So, is it due to the fact that these are border areas, or is it something internal? What do you think? Are the internal factors more active, or it is a mix of both?
Both. These are both because, firstly, what used to be absolutely porous, then you created fencing. Did that fencing stop everything? No fencing can ever stop everything.
Yeah.
But you can get better in the sense very effective surveillance, very effective manning, very effective patrolling, very effective people deployed there. Maybe that needs to improve. So, if earlier there was so much more infiltration, it may have reduced, but it is still there. So this is from inside Bangladesh, that push factor. But from Indian side, there is a pull factor also.
Right.
There are local political reasons where they look at demographic change because democracy works on votes.
Absolutely.
And we've seen how poorly managed is this issue of Aadhaar card being given. People have been just getting Aadhaar card. I can tell you about 2008, 2009, around that time, families used to come across, guided by people who were in the political regime. They used to pull them, they used to shelter them in some outskirts of a village. The people are very simple, they don't need much. So they just need a small jhopdi. The entire family consisting of 10, 12, at times even 20 people. They would come and stay there. These people used to give them rations for about a month. Then they'll give cycle rickshaw. And in that about 1 month, they used to even tell them how to speak Bangla here. Because Bangla in Bangladesh
is
and
different. Yes.
Even from the eastern side, Sylheti is much different
Yes.
from what possibly is spoken at Karimganj or Silchar.
Yes.
So even that coaching used to be done, and within that 1 month, they used to get them the voter ID, the ration card, everything possible. So obviously there is something wrong, which we also have to take a blame, and we must correct it. Otherwise, it's not going to improve at all.
So my next question is about Myanmar. There are two issues which we are facing. One is Rohingyas issue as well, and secondly, there is a lot of illicit trade of drugs, arms, and maybe even women across that border. So, what do you think are the steps needed in this regard?
See, Rohingyas came as a major problem from the internal turmoil. That is anti-Muslim kind of a hatred. Actually, it was a hatred.
Yeah.
And they really butchered them and they drove them. Now, where did they go? They obviously went in whichever direction they could go, whether they went towards Thailand, whether they came towards India, whether they went by sea somewhere. But it happened. At that point in time, they've reached even J&K.
Yes.
They've reached Delhi.
Yes.
And there's a lot of good research work that has been done as to where have they vanished into these multiple cities. And again, this is another point connected to the last question, where political leaders here made use of this. Okay, there is a constituency which can be created and they can vote for us. Now, this is not the way that we as citizens, honest citizens, expect political leaders to behave.
Right.
So, okay, the biggest humanitarian camp for Rohingyas is in Bangladesh. So, if they are there, fine.
Yeah.
No issue. We will also support the humanitarian aid. But people come there, use that as a launch pad, and then get launched into rest of the world, which obviously is not the best way to look at things.
Right.
And if that is going to upset the demographic balance in Assam or in West Bengal or in J&K or in Delhi, then it is at the cost of our national interest. So I think whatever the present government, I think, is planning to do to make rules, regulations, tighten up the vigilance. So many illegal colonies have come up around Delhi.
Yes.
I think that has to be handled. It cannot be left to the next generation to solve.
Yes. Sir, you have handled troops on the ground during your active military work, and now in the last several years I have been been in touch with you. You have been in the ministry
Yeah.
as well. You have been working in the PMO as well as in the Ministry of Defense. So, what are your thoughts about having better, coordination between ministries and security agencies? And also, today the warfare has shifted also to information warfare.
Yeah.
So, how do you think that all these three, especially with the cyber security aspect also, how do you think these factors can be integrated together, or there can be a better coordination for the security of our nation?
Sumitra ji, multiple questions, but the focus of yours is very right. Security of the nation.
Yeah.
And multiple ministries coordination, intelligence coordination, multiple
Along
security
with,
agencies coordination.
yeah.
So I agree with that. There was a particular period when intelligence was only looked after by RNAW and IB. Military intelligence was separate.
Yeah.
Then when the present NSA became Director IB, he started something known as the Multi-Agency Center, MAC. So there is a JS level officer of IB who handles that in Delhi, and all the intelligence agencies, so many of them, nearly 2 dozen, who all come sit together, share their inputs, which is something most difficult between intelligence agencies to make them share their inputs. And sharing inputs has to be authenticated, and then MAC comes up with assessments. Information is just one part. Then you have to filter it out. ना इसमें सच कितना है, झूठ कितना है, डुप्लीकेशन कितना है, एग्जैजरेशन कितना है, तो वो पूरा मैक में होता है. Then all that is again shared with the intelligence agency, so they know where to start again.
Yes.
Now this is one part. There are multiple security agencies which are functioning. There is the Assam Rifles, there is the army, then there are state police.
Right.
So many state police and IRB है, बहुत सारी,
Even border security force.
CRPF कहीं से वहाँ पे गई हुई है. तो border security force is along the Bangladesh border. तो then how do you handle it? तो उसके लिए they have at the unified headquarter level a kind of a meeting where the governor, the chief minister, the corps commander, the army commander, various heads of these organizations, they sit together and they work out, see, these are the threats, these are the challenges, but this is the end goal that we have to achieve. Okay, you do this, you do this, you do that. This is at the ground level. At Delhi, Ministry of Home, Ministry of Defense, we all also pitch in. There's a lot of work that is done by the National Security Council Secretariat.
Yeah.
Because finally the NSA is the one who takes inputs and recommendations to the Prime Minister and to the CCS. So they all have to pitch in. There are grey areas, there are gaps. In fact, one of the things which very stark, दो स्टेट की पुलिस आपस में लड़ रही है. That is the worst thing that can ever happen in a democracy, no?
Yeah, we saw that in Assam.
Yeah, and today in a digital world, it gets picked up within seconds.
Yeah.
Even if the state doesn't say that, but वो X पे आ जाता है, Facebook पे आ जाता है, WhatsApp पे घूम रहा होता है. तो when you spoke about information warfare, and wherever there is a weakness, information will get exposed. उसमें nobody should be under the wrong idea that पहले ज़माने में हम इसको ऐसे कंट्रोल करते थे. अब वो सोल्यूशन नहीं है. पहले ज़माने में आप फाइल के ऊपर मूव करते थे कि सर ये स्टेटमेंट देना है, कौन देगा, उसमें फुल स्टॉप, कॉमा, एडजेक्टिव, एडवर्ब. अभी थिंग्स आर सो फास्ट. You have to delegate down to the level of the person who's on ground to say, this is what has to be said, this is not what has to be said. But more than that, your people on ground have to be so good that they have to decide themselves. पूछने का टाइम नहीं है.
Right.
कि वो मीटिंग चल रही है. ये this luxury I think has gone. So the proliferation of devices, digital devices, the availability of digital networks, and the propensity of your adversary to play on that. All put together, this is a new warfare where you are always under pressure. आपने physically कुछ किया या नहीं किया, कम से कम digitally आपका area of influence, you have to be very careful and not give it away to your adversary. कि because you are inactive there, so your adversary is very busy acting on it and you're just sitting comfortably. ऐसा नहीं होगा. I think information warfare, the security forces, the intelligence agencies, the civil administration, and the citizen. A lot of NGOs,
Yes.
उनके अगेंस्ट भी होता है शुरू.
Hmm.
There are nationalistic NGOs,
Hmm.
उनके अगेंस्ट भी होता है.
Hmm.
So I think everyone has to now pitch in, and you're a citizen, you're a warrior.
Hmm.
You will be targeted, you have to hit back. So all this information space, information highway, इस पे लड़ाइयाँ होंगी.
Hmm.
And you have to win there. You have no choice. And these are the wars जिसमें you don't say इसको gold medal मिला, उसको silver, इसको bronze. Either you are a winner or you perish.
Right. So China has been quite advanced in cyber warfare. So are we really that equipped today to handle this? Because when we talk about China, we do talk about border areas like Arunachal and other areas, but somehow we are getting fed on the information warfare that China is into fifth generation warfare, and that buzz is being created. So how are we countering this narrative, or how are we facing this threat?
See, we have to create our own customized solution. उनके यहाँ पे they have cyber warriors. Maybe in uniform, may not be in uniform. There
Right.
are citizens who are encouraged to become cyber warriors. Every time they meet with a success, they get social credit points.
Okay.
Social credit points में अच्छा अब आप you can travel to so and so place. You can
Okay.
possibly go abroad. Those are
Okay.
those incentives.
Okay.
Nobody has to tell them कि अच्छा अभी some statement has come from India which is possibly against China. They all jump. And they try to outdo each other by that sheer frenzy.
So proactive
Proactive
boost,
to a level because
yeah,
उनको उससे advantage
incentivize,
derive
yeah.
करना है. हमारे यहाँ पे आपको अगर किसी को create भी किया तो उसको push करना पड़ता है.
Right.
There are a lot of very good citizens, उनको बोलना नहीं पड़ता है. हमारे यहाँ पे है far and few, but they are good. They are really good. Within the country, critical information infrastructure. क्रिटिकल इंफॉर्मेशन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर जो होता है उसमें आपका ऑयल एंड नेचुरल गैस होता है, आपका एविएशन होता है, रेलवेज होता है, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी होता है, आपका बैंकिंग सबसे बड़ा
फिनटेक बैंकिंग है.
तो उसके लिए एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है विच प्रोटेक्ट्स दैट क्रिटिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. देयर आर अबाउट 7 पिलर्स इन दैट. देयर आर मोर विच गेट एडेड एज वी कीप गेटिंग मोर डिजिटाइज्ड. इट विल कीप गेटिंग एडेड. द गवर्नमेंट विल नॉट बी एबल टू प्रोटेक्ट एवरी सिटीजन. आपको खुद अपने आप को प्रोटेक्ट करना पड़ेगा. लेकिन a small thing known as a cyber crime could also have links with something abroad. आपके यहाँ पे साइबर फ्रॉड होता है, बैंकिंग फ्रॉड होता है. आपको कैसे पता है कि वो इकोनॉमिक वॉरफेयर का हिस्सा नहीं है?
Yes.
Because there are people who will derive some benefit out of it. But if your banking system goes down or your economic growth goes down, so who's the ultimate beneficiary? Your adversary.
Yeah.
So even if people here may feel कि मैं तो छोटा मोटा चोर हूँ, but you're contributing to an anti-national plan knowingly or unknowingly.
So that can be state or non-state actors both.
आजकल कोई non-state है ही नहीं. Because you look at the wars which are going on today. There are 3 wars. And if you count Indian part, तो वो 4th conflict है. किसने war declare किया अभी तक? Everyone is carrying out military operations, cyber operations, information operations.
Yeah.
With what? उसको स्पेशल ऑपरेशन बोलते हैं. लड़ाई शुरू हो जाती है. You are not even saying we are declaring that we will go to war. ऐसा नहीं हो रहा है. So things in new age warfare are different.
Yes.
People will be continuously at war without saying so. People will start and finish wars based on what their national interests are.
Yeah.
People who have nothing to do with the war will claim that they stopped a war.
Yeah.
तो ये सब चलेगा. तो ये सब tolerance of ambiguity है, where all citizens will have to start thinking that for everything you don't have to question the government. There were 2 particular events which I want to tell you जहाँ बहुत साइबर अटैक्स हुए थे. G20 के टाइम हुए थे. राम मंदिर इनॉग्रेशन. There was a lot of good work done by MHA. Youth from colleges, from universities, from schools, they all joined up. And the other silent faces, let them be silent.
Yeah.
You should not
So
expose
citizens, civilians will
them. Yeah,
get it.
and don't expose them because वो बेचारे फंस जाते हैं.
Right. Correct. That is a great initiative. Sir, you just mentioned about the 3 wars that are happening.
Yeah.
So how do you think is the geopolitics going to change, and especially it is affecting the supply chain situation? So is India, as it is not directly involved in any of these wars, So is India going to emerge stronger?
Every challenge brings out an opportunity.
Yes.
आपको वो देखने की काबिलियत होनी चाहिए.
Right.
अभी जैसे ही ईरान के ऊपर प्रेशर पड़ा एंड सैंक्शंस का, what was the natural reaction? They started increasing the petroleum production.
Right.
उसकी वजह से क्या हुआ? Prices have started coming down.
Coming down.
जैसे ही उन्होंने अपना पेट्रोलियम प्रोडक्शन बढ़ाया, सऊदी अरेबिया, यूएई, बहरीन, जॉर्डन, इन्होंने भी अपना बढ़ा दिया, बिकॉज दे डोंट वांट ईरान टू कैप्चर दिस मार्केट. अल्टीमेट बेनिफिशियरी कौन है? आप और मैं. इनडायरेक्टली हमने किसी को कुछ नहीं बोला. सो एवरी टाइम व्हेन पीपल से सप्लाई चेन मैनेजमेंट, सप्लाई चेन वल्नरेबिलिटी, कुछ जगह होगा, कुछ जगह पे आपको बेनिफिट मिलेगा. So you have to be alert and be able to grab the opportunity that comes your way, or even if it is not coming your way, you still have to grab it. तो ये तीनों कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स में किसी न किसी का फायदा होगा, किसी का नुकसान होगा. मे बी you look at how silently China is sitting. सबसे ज़्यादा बेनिफिट without vocally supporting anybody, but materially they are busy supporting. What is the meaning of materially? अगर मान लीजिए उन्होंने ईरान को अपना ड्रोन्स दिया या इंजिन्स दिए या मटेरियल दिया, तो इकोनॉमी ऑफ चाइना इज बेनिफिटेड, नो? सेम इज द केस. यूएसए विल कीप गिविंग मिसाइल्स और एयरक्राफ्ट्स और व्हाटएवर टू इजराइल. दे आर गेटिंग बेनिफिटेड. देयर आर मल्टीपल वेज ऑफ हेल्पिंग पीपल इन गाजा. उनका इकोनॉमी, नॉट गाजा का, बट जो भी सामान भेज रहे हैं, इवन इफ इट इज ह्यूमैनिटेरियन, तो वो चल रहा है उधर. सो दैट इज समथिंग वेयर
वॉर क्रिएट्स economy basically.
So war creation is not the most advisable thing for a global citizen. But we cannot be in utopia कि हमारे कहने से war नहीं होगा. War होगा, और उसी में आपको रहना है, उसी में आपको survive करना है.
Sir, the last question. We have focused this discussion mostly on our eastern borders. So looking at the emerging threats and opportunities that we are seeing, what are your recommendations or what are your suggestions, and how prepared India should be on the eastern border from our adversaries?
We have our force level which is dedicated to protection of our eastern borders and our sovereignty. So it's not that कुछ होगा तो हमें दौड़ के वहाँ जाना पड़ेगा. हाँ, फोर्स एक्रेशन करना है तो फिर हमें यहाँ से लोगों को ले जाना पड़ेगा. That is okay. But as of today you have a number of dedicated military formations in that area. You have dedicated air bases in that area, and in addition to that you have Assam rifles in that area. तो force level का issue नहीं है. The issue is the intelligence part of it, the capability of being able to see what is being visible and what actually is meant to happen. The fragility of the regime in Myanmar and Bangladesh, these are very big causes of concern.
Yes.
Because manipulation तो कोई भी आके कर लेगा. Nepal has been going through similar situation. If you actually count the number of times their head of state has changed, it's massive. Then you look at the locals, now suddenly there is a demand कि bring the king back.
King back, yes.
तो ये सब चलेगा. And we will have to be very fleet-footed and keep looking at things and keep preparing ourselves. ऐसा नहीं कि हम देख रहे थे, हम देखते रह गए. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. We will have to and
be more agile towards all these.
Vigilant, agile, and we have to act, not react. And at times we will have to react, but it will have to be fast. It cannot be at luxurious scale. Like at one point in time, I was speaking to the defense secretary. He said very clearly, luxurious timelines and gold standards don't actually work.
Right.
You have to be practical. You have to cut down on the timelines and standards which are available. You cannot be saying, I will wait to buy something which will come to me 10 years later. Whatever is possible to do it today, whether it is by innovation, whether it is by indigenization, you'll have to do it. Where there is a gap, you'll have to bring in a kind of joint venture so that you don't falter. The troops on ground, they will do their best, but it is the responsibility of the nation to choose the best armed forces and equip them to the best possible ability. We cannot have that stage when once a chief said, we will fight with what we have. We did fight and we won. But I think now we should say we will equip them to the best possible ability And this best is based on how your adversary is equipped.
Right.
So that is the point.
So, sir, you have been in the Indian Army and related services for more than 45 years.
Yeah.
So, on a personal note, sir, how has the journey been? And what are your thoughts on next steps for you?
No, how the journey has been extremely satisfying. Next janam again in the armed forces, no doubt about that. And it's a very good organization, extremely like a family.
Yes.
The people grow. There are tremendous amount of challenges that we all face. There are tremendous amount of challenges that our families face.
Yes.
It's not easy for them.
Yes.
But still, there are values, there is ethos, there are traditions, there is a way of thinking, there is an attitude that you develop for the nation. I have not seen many of these organizations elsewhere who will talk about the nation first. They will talk about themselves, they will talk about why should I do it. Here, nobody has to give orders, people just start doing it. Now, what in future for me? Nation building, that is all. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us. It was a pleasure having you on Madhyom. Thank you, sir. Thank you, and Jai Hind to all
Jai
your
Hind, sir.
audience.
Jai
Thank
Hind.
you.
Thank you, everyone, for watching this podcast. Do join us again.